In the great silence of awareness, the Buddha saw that all beings move like waves upon the same ocean, rising, falling, appearing separate, yet never leaving the water that holds them all. To awaken is to remember this, that there is no separation, only the illusion of it. When one truly sees this truth, the heart becomes vast like the sky. Nothing can disturb it, nothing can stain it. Grief may pass through it like clouds across the moon, but the light beneath remains unchanged, the Buddha called this light compassion, not the compassion of sentiment or duty, but the deep knowing that all beings suffer because they forget who they are. And so, compassion does not come from effort. It flows naturally when the illusion of self begins to dissolve. He taught that all things arise and pass according to conditions. Nothing stands alone. The flower blooms because of rain, sunlight, soil, and time. The same is true for joy and sorrow. To see this is to stop blaming and to start understanding. When awareness matures into wisdom, you no longer ask, "Why me?" You ask instead, "What is this teaching me?" Life ceases to be an enemy and becomes a sacred classroom. Even pain becomes a messenger. It whispers, "Look deeper." It says, "Here too, there is love." And when one listens without resistance, even the hardest moments open into grace. The Buddha's own life was not without hardship. He was misunderstood, mocked, and betrayed. But never once did he allow bitterness to take root. He knew that hatred poisons the heart of the one who holds it. So he let it go, again and again, until only love remained, he said. Just as a candle does not lose its flame by lighting another, so too does the heart not lose by giving love. In this giving, the self begins to fade, and something greater shines through. The awareness that we are all expressions of the same boundless life. To walk the path of mindfulness is to live as the Buddha lived, not seeking escape, but presence, not chasing heaven, but finding peace here, now. In this body, in this breath, in this moment, he reminded his disciples, "Do not look for me in temples of stone or images of gold. When you are mindful, I am there. When you are compassionate, I am there. When you see clearly and live in peace, that is where the Buddha dwells." This is the true temple, the stillness of the awakened heart, and this is the true practice. To live each moment with awareness, to breathe with gratitude, to walk gently upon the earth. Mindfulness is not only found in meditation halls. It is found in the way you pour tea, the way you speak to a stranger, the way you listen to the rain. It is found in the pauses between words and in the silence after you forgive. When mindfulness becomes life itself, everything becomes sacred. Every meal, every touch, every breath. The world reveals itself not as something to conquer, but as something to cherish. The Buddha once said, "As the lotus grows from the mud, so does wisdom arise from the suffering of life." The mud is not the enemy. It is the womb of awakening. Without it, the lotus cannot bloom. So every pain you endure holds within it the seed of enlightenment. Every disappointment carves space for compassion to grow. Every tear waters the garden of the heart, and when that garden blossoms, its fragrance is love, a love that needs no reason, a love that forgives all things, a love that simply is. As the Buddha's final days approached, he reminded those who followed him, "All things that arise must pass away. Work diligently for your own awakening." He did not leave behind commandments, only understanding. He did not promise salvation, only the path to see clearly. And in that seeing lies the peace that cannot be taken away. To see clearly is to live without fear. To live without fear is to love without limits. To love without limits is to be free. Freedom does not mean escape from the world, but harmony with it. It is to walk among the restless and remain still. It is to hear the noise of the world and yet keep your heart tuned to silence. This is enlightenment, not a place, not a moment, but the ever-present reality beneath all change. It is the smile that shines through tears, the calm that remains in chaos, the clarity that sees the eternal in the fleeting. When the Buddha's body faded into the earth, his light did not disappear. It lives in every act of kindness, every moment of awareness, every breath taken in peace. The Dharma did not end. It became the heartbeat of the world, whispering through wind and water, calling us to remember what we have always known. The journey of mindfulness is endless, because awareness itself has no beginning and no end. Every breath is a doorway to awakening, every step a chance to return home. And when you close your eyes in stillness, when you breathe and let go, you will feel it. The same silence that held the Buddha beneath the Bodhi tree, the same light that has never dimmed. This is your true nature, vast, radiant, freed. It cannot be harmed. It cannot be lost. It only waits to be remembered. Let this be your practice, to be present, to be kind, to be awake. For in that simple being, you continue the Buddha's path, a path not of escape, but of illumination. The wind will carry your breath, the earth will hold your step, and the stars will bear witness to the quiet miracle of your awareness. You are not walking toward enlightenment. You are walking as enlightenment itself, and in that realization, the heart opens, the mind rests, and the universe smiles, for the Buddha has never left. There is a truth so subtle that it can only be seen in stillness. The truth that the mind is not the enemy, but the mirror. When it is clouded by fear, it distorts. When it is still, it reflects the world as it truly is. The Buddha once said, "As the rain falls evenly on all things, so let your heart fall evenly on all beings." To live this way is to become the mirror itself, clear, patient, and full of light. Within each of us are countless worlds, memories, desires, attachments, and dreams. When we cling to them, we suffer. When we let them drift like clouds, the sky of awareness opens again. The mind's nature is movement, a constant flow of thought, emotion, and image. But beneath that movement is silence, and in that silence lies freedom. When one learns to rest in awareness, thoughts lose their power to harm. They rise, they fade, and the one who watches remains untouched. This is the art of mindfulness, to witness without grasping, to see clearly without reacting. When anger arises, it is simply energy, a spark that can light a fire or a lamp. With mindfulness, it becomes light. Without it, it burns. The Buddha understood that to change the world, one must first understand the mind that creates it. For all wars begin as a thought, all cruelty begins as confusion, and all peace begins as a single breath that sees things as they are. He taught that pain is not the enemy. It is the messenger. It says, here, too, awareness is needed. It says, here, love must enter. When one listens deeply, even suffering becomes sacred. It softens pride, teaches compassion, and reminds us that all beings walk the same fragile road. To awaken is not to avoid suffering, but to meet it without fear. Like a mountain meeting the storm, you let the wind pass and stand unmoved at the center of your being. When the Buddha was asked how to overcome hatred, he said, with love. When asked how to overcome ignorance, he said, with understanding. And when asked how to overcome suffering, he said, with awareness. Awareness is the light that turns pain into wisdom. It is the flame that reveals the path, not by burning, but by illuminating. The one who practices awareness learns that every thought, every emotion, is like a traveler knocking at the door. You do not need to welcome all who come, nor do you need to fight them. You simply open the door of the heart and let them pass through. The Buddha's path is not about suppression, it is about seeing. When you see clearly, desire loses its mask, when you see deeply, fear loses its shadow. When you see completely, suffering loses its meaning. In that seeing, compassion blooms, not forced, not commanded, but born naturally from understanding. Compassion is not pity. It is the recognition that there is no other, that the joy of one is the joy of all, and the pain of one is shared by the whole. When the heart opens this way, every act becomes a prayer. A glance becomes kindness. A breath becomes healing. Even silence becomes love. And yet, compassion requires wisdom. For to love blindly is to drown in another's sorrow. To love with awareness is to lift both yourself and them toward light. The Buddha walked among kings and beggars alike, not judging, not dividing, but seeing each as a reflection of the same. Boundless awareness, he said, hatred does not cease by hatred, but by love. This is the eternal law. And in that truth lies the power of transformation. For when you meet harm with love, you do not only free yourself, you free the one who harmed you. Each act of understanding ripples through the web of life, touching hearts unseen, softening places still hard with fear. The light you kindle within yourself becomes the dawn for others. The Buddha did not teach to build temples of stone, but temples of awareness. Hearts so vast that even suffering could rest there in peace, he said, within this very body. And mind lies the path to the end of sorrow. There is no other time, no other place, no other teacher needed. Only this breath, this awareness, this moment. When the mind returns to now, the world returns to harmony. And in that harmony, love moves silently through all things. This is the mirror of the mind, clear, reflective, boundless. When it is polished with mindfulness, it shows not only the world as it is, but the self as it has always been, pure, radiant, unbroken. In the beginning, there was only silence, before the birds sang, before the rivers spoke, before the heart learned to fear. There was stillness, and in that stillness, awareness arose, vast and infinite, watching the play of light and shadow unfold. From this same awareness, every being was born. The mountains that sleep, the wind that moves, the stars that burn, all emerge and fade within this single breath of existence. And yet, humanity forgot the silence that births peace, forgot the space between thoughts, where the heart truly dwells. The Buddha came into a world that was loud, restless, and yearning. He did not come as a god, but as a man who remembered that he looked into the noise and saw its cause, craving, fear, and the endless pursuit of what never lasts. He saw that all beings run after happiness while running away from themselves. He sat beneath a tree, not to escape the world, but to understand it. He breathed with the rhythm of the earth, watched the rise and fall of the mind like waves upon the sea, and saw that within each wave, there was always calm water beneath. When he opened his eyes, he saw truth not as a secret, but as something so simple, so ordinary, that the busy mind had overlooked it. He saw that suffering is not punishment. It is a teacher. Every pain, every loss, every disappointment calls us to return to what is real. And what is real cannot be harmed. He saw that the mind, when left untamed, creates its own storms, judging, clinging, resisting, imagining 1,000 fears that never come to pass. But when the mind rests in awareness, when one simply observes without reaction, the storm passes, and what remains is peace, the peace that was there all along. The Buddha's awakening was not a moment of triumph. It was the quiet recognition that there is nothing to win, nothing to lose, and nothing to fear. He became a mirror through which all beings could see their own reflection, a reminder that the light we seek outside has always lived within. From that moment, the world began to listen, not because he spoke loudly, but because his silence spoke more deeply than any sound. That he walked the dusty roads of India with bare feet, and wherever he went, hearts opened. The poor, the rich, the lost, the angry, all found comfort in his gaze that he told them, "There is no path to peace. Peace is the path." And what did he mean by this? That peace is not at the end of effort. It is in the breath that notices effort itself. It is in the awareness that watches desire rise and fall, that sees anger, fear, and grief not as enemies, but as clouds passing through a sky that remains untouched. Mindfulness is this seeing. It is the art of remembering. Remember that we are not the waves of emotion, but the ocean itself. Remember that we are not broken, only unaware of our own wholeness. When you sit in silence, you begin to hear what the world has always been saying. The sound of the wind becomes your teacher. The rhythm of your breath becomes a prayer. The beating of your heart becomes a reminder that life itself is sacred, not because it lasts, but because it passes. And as awareness deepens, compassion naturally arises. For when you see the pain of others as your own, the boundaries between self and other begin to dissolve. What remains is love, vast, unconditioned, and free. This love does not shout. It does not demand or cling. It simply shines, as the sun shines upon all things without choosing. This is the love of awakening. It is the fragrance of mindfulness, the blossom that grows from the soil of understanding. The Buddha taught not to seek perfection, but to see clearly. To see that joy and sorrow, success and loss, birth and death are all woven into the same fabric of existence. To resist one and chase the other is to tear the fabric apart, but to embrace both, to hold them gently in the hands of awareness, is to find freedom. And so, the Buddha smiled, not because the world was without suffering, but because he understood it at last, that he had seen the way beyond it, not by rising above life, but by resting deeply within it.